How you doing tonight? Good to see all of you. I'm Jay, and we're doing the Woodshop Live. This is episode number 14, and today we're going to be talking about finishing your figured woods, right? So figured woods is something that you can come across, and figured wood I think is beautiful. But you know, as you probably know, if you've been watching, if you've been following my channel, I am relatively new to hand tool woodworking. You know, I've just started to get better woodworking, hand tools. Like I got a bunch of these old school vintage Stanleys, but my biggest problem is that I need to get them sharpened. And so I ended up buying a Lie-Nielsen number 62 low angle jack plane. We covered this last week. And I've been playing with it this week. I've been playing with it for the last few days, just trying to get a better feel for how to use it. And I really like it. Like it's super, super nice. It really does a lot of great cutting. And the nice thing is that the blade is super sharp. If you get a Lie-Nielsen, one thing you don't have to do is really do any kind of flattening to the sole or to the blades. A lot of times people tell you when you get a new tool, you need to flatten the blades. You don't need to do that with these. These are they've been machined down very precisely to 1/15,000th of an inch. So they're as flat as can be. So what I probably do need to do is put a bevel, right? So let me take this cap iron off here. And you can see this. This is the blade. And as you can see, it's getting a little bit dirty. It means that I've been working with it. So trying to get a better feel for this tool, and that edge is still beautifully sharp, even though I have been using it for the last several days. So the adjuster here just goes back and forth, just like any other hand plane. We're going to put this back in. That notches in on the adjuster, and then the cap iron goes right back in, and you just tighten it down. I think this is what they call Norris style. I'm not really sure. But, you know, so one of the things that we have to worry about, and actually, I think that what they say is that these low angle, so what is, first of all, let's go back to the low angle jack. The low angle jack is, as you can see, very different in geometry from a regular number. So the number 62 is really based on a number 5. So you can see these two are pretty much the same length, pretty much the same width. And this is the number 5 Stanley Bailey. And as you can see, there is a big difference. Like the whole apparatus of the blade is very steep of an angle, where this one, it's a very low angle. And how that works is that, let me take this back off again. The bed, this part here, has an angle of 12 degrees. And your blade has an angle of 25 degrees. So you kind of compound those two numbers together. 25 plus 12 gives you 25 plus 12, 37. So you got a 37 degree angle, total angle. And then if you change it to, let's say you put a 30-degree bevel, another 5 degrees on it, then you're now at 42 degrees, right? So almost the same as this one, but right now this is at 37, so it's still a little bit lower. Do you need to worry so much about the actual final angle? I mean, to a certain extent, but if you're off by maybe a degree or two, no big deal. Now, when it comes to these regular type of number 5s, we'll take that cap iron off and the blade with the chip breaker. And you can see the blade angle, or the bed angle, is 45 degrees. So 45 degrees plus, let's say you have a 25-degree bevel here. Actually, I think that my understanding is that the bevel that you put on here, even if you put 25 degrees and you put a 30-degree bevel, that really doesn't matter because this is a bevel down or bevel up plane. Is that right? Bevel down plane. And the only angle that matters is this 45, so it's always 45 regardless of the actual angle that you put on your plane blade, which I'm still trying to make sure that I understand that completely, but that's essentially the case. And then that just goes in like this with the chip breaker facing up. Again, it goes into that little slot for the adjuster, And then you drop your cap iron on. Oh, why is it tight? There we go. It shouldn't be that tight. Something does not look right there. This is why someone like me needs to go with a manufactured, so we can loosen this nut here so that it fits and then snugs up. We don't want it to be too tight. You don't have to torque it all the way down, so. There, that should be good. Now we've got to adjust it. And so they both work very similarly, right? So there we go. We got the number 5. Put that there. But we're going to use the number 62. And the number 5, because it does have the higher angle, they say that the higher angle is actually better for figured woods. And because of the way that it attacks it, it doesn't, they want, some people even want to go higher, up to 55 degrees on the angle. So it really depends on what your preference. I have been planing using this because I just want to get better, more used to the whole physicality of hand planing. So everything I've been doing has been using this number 62, a little bit of number 5. Again, I really do need to get my sharpening game better so that I can actually sharpen and have great working tools. Once you sharpen your blades and get it solid, it really makes a big difference. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some figured woods here. I've got a couple pieces of walnut, very highly figured walnut, as you can see. These were actually, we were at Hearn Hardwoods beginning of the week, November 3rd, which was 2 weeks ago now. And as we were leaving, they were doing a lot of cuts and stuff, and they had a big bin that was kind of their garbage bin. And we're like, hey, is that your garbage bin? He's like, yeah, man, if you want to take some with you. And so we grabbed a whole bunch of woods, little cutoffs, like they have these cutoffs, and some of these are pretty big, that they were going to burn or trash or do whatever with it. And they were like, yeah, if you want to burn them, you're welcome to burn them. So I grabbed a whole bunch of like white oak. They had a lot of white oak cutoffs that I actually chopped up even more for firewood. And then there's a couple pieces like this that could be usable. As you can see, it's got beautiful figuring, right? You can kind of see that I did a little bit of planing, so you can see that this has been partially planed. On the back side here, it's still pretty rough sawn, just as it came off the mill and went to the dryer. But you can see how there's a lot of knotting on both of these examples, even though the figuring here is just gorgeous. But the thing is that for whatever purpose they're having, this makes it unusable. So these are chunks out of the board that they just can't use, so they just toss them. I mean, we know, how it is. Once you get to a certain point, you just can't keep any more wood. It really is a sickness. So what we're going to do is we're going to plane these down. We're not necessarily going to worry about leveling the board. Like you can see here, it's pretty warped, right? Not horribly warped, but warped enough. Like look at that. You can see it's kind of thinner there and bowed this way, and then this one is actually, this one's fairly decent. A little bit of undulation right here, but this is fairly decent. So we're gonna play around with these, right? We're just really here to play around. I really grabbed these, partially for the wood burning, but also because, I know that I need to practice more planing. So the more practice I can get in, hopefully the better that I can become as a woodworker, and that's kind of why we have this. So we're going to start off with just planing right away, and just had to adjust the computer because the computer is not working very well today. It's not charging. Oh gosh, why is it not charging? Come on now. There is always something that goes wrong in a live stream. Live streams are always challenging. Okay, I think we're good. So when you're working on your workbench, you know, they have these planing stops, and the planing stops tend to be these like metal claws that you kind of either screw into your workbench, or you cut out a big square mortise and you drive it in there, and you can adjust it and bring it up and down. Some are flush mounted, some are just mounted, you know, on the surface. There's many ways to do it. On my particular bench, as you can see, we've got the 20 millimeter dog holes in an MFT style fashion. So 20 millimeter dog holes at 96 millimeters on center for each of the holes. So very, very festool kind of approach. But you know, so when you're using this kind of bench, you do need a little bit different work holding. So some of the potentials are planing stops like this that have the 20 millimeter dogs here, and they're on a sliding extrusion of aluminum. This one's by Hongdui, which is a company out of China. They make, actually, Hongdui does make some really nice quality stuff. I've had a couple, I own this, but I, you know, got to see some friends that have other Hongdui stuff, and it has been surprisingly nice. So that just kind of slides in there, and you know, you can slide it around a little bit, and what it does is it pushes up against here, right? And then you just take your plane and you start your shaving. Now, one of the things about this is that, you know, it's just like a regular plane stop. It's totally loose. Like, you know, like in that case, it'll pull back, and you know, it just kind of slides around. If you don't want it to slide around, you can get something that's a little bit more secure locking. And in this particular case, I have these clamps from Festool. These are the MFT SP clamps, and what they do is you have two parts. There's a cleat here. Now, these do have little screw holes here at the bottom. So if you wanted, and they have a little knob, so you can screw it from underneath. If you really want to secure the clamps down, you put this cleat here, and then you take your workpiece, kind of keep it centered, and then in another part of the MFT, you find the other dog hole, and then this, you open it up and then slide it to lock it in place. And then when you pull this back, the cam pushes the rod forward and secures it down. Oh, that's not so secure. It's better if you center it. That's a little bit, it lifted it up a little bit, I think because the bow is bored. The board is bowed. All right, now we can just kind of, and as you can see, it holds it down positively. Oh man, well, not so positively, I guess. Like I said, I think the board is a little bit bowed, so it kind of rises. I'm pushing up a little bit on here to keep it down. And then we're just gonna, this is not working out. Let's turn it around and see if turning around does it better. I don't know if that did any better. So part of it is also to, like, I think you have to get the right physical posture. Like, you don't want it to be all arms. You want it to be your body, and you want to have your legs spread so that you can, like, give your energy, and you're also giving a little bit of body force to help throw the plane. And another thing about the plane, like, these are fairly heavy planes. I don't know exactly how heavy they are, but they're fairly heavy. And, you know, you kind of have to find a balance between heavy plane or a weighted plane that gives you enough inertia and momentum as you're planing so that it glides better, but also not so much that you tire yourself out, because it's a physically demanding pursuit. So you need to have a little bit of balance somewhere. I think this one is fairly good for me. I'm feeling a little bit of resistance, so I'm going to wax this. So I'm just taking paraffin wax. This is just an old candle. Just a little bit there, and that should help the glide. And you can go backwards the other way. What I'm just trying to do is to remove all of the high spots to get everything relatively even so that it's smooth. As you can see, there's still rough spots because, you know, the rough spots show you that are where the board is a little bit lower than the rest, but you can see the figuring is starting to come out. Wow, it's really... Now I am kind of going across the board rather than just straight back and forth like this. I don't know if there's really what the different theories are behind it, but I don't know. As you can see here, it's still much lower, right? Like here, there's still a lot of roughness, but here we're getting the blade is making contact here. It's not making contact over here. So you're getting a lot of roughness still. So we just got to keep going until we get down to the point that we want, or at least till it looks nice. So since I'm coming this way, let me turn it around. And come at it from this direction. That way I can plane this way. Sometimes you get a little bit stuck. You can back it up a little bit. You only want to take light shavings, and you can see some of them are nice and long, or long-ish, but actually that's a bit thick, so we want to come back a little bit. It's too thick, too thin. I think we're also getting a lot of short shavings because we are in the figured wood, but we're still a little bit here, right? If we take a look at the board, some of the issues that we're having is that we're still down here. We just need to get in there, but also on this way, since I'm coming this way, we're getting a little bit of tear out. So I think I need to come back around and plane it this way, which should give us smoother patterns. Everything's about like letting the wood speak to you so that it can let you know what's wrong. Still pretty low right there. Oh, damn. Getting caught right here in the crack of that knot. There, now I'm starting to feel more of a pull across this surface, so that means that this is getting pretty level. Now right here, like it looks relatively smooth here, but right here, you can see where the grain has changed. I'm getting a little bit of tear out right there. And because of the way the grain is moving in these figured woods, it's a little bit difficult to really control that. So you kind of have to go with which way works best for the majority of the piece. And I think it's still going to remain planing in this direction. Yeah, so we're getting longer cuts here, but still not very long cuts in this area. It's getting hot. Andrew, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Oh, I can't take that off because the microphone is there. So, it's getting hot. I got the heater running. Is that planing stop by Cat's Moses? No, this planing stop that I'm using is by Festool. It's called their MFT SP. Yeah, see here, now I'm starting to get a little bit of lift. Now, a few moments ago, I was getting tear out right here. That's getting smoother. Now I'm getting tear out here. But we are getting closer. We're reducing these rough sawn areas a lot more. And the tear out from earlier was deep enough that we're still seeing it, but we're getting closer to that point. We're getting closer. Maybe a little bit more depth. Wow, there's a lot of depth there. I'm also hitting, oh man. See, you can see how, I just totally did some tear out here. That's just telling me we're too high. Ooh, we're really tearing it up now. Okay, so oh no, we still got a little bit right here to go. I'm getting more cutting happening in this direction than the other direction with the same blade setting. A little bit here, a little bit here of the rough sawn. A lot of tear out there, that's bad. Let's go back. Just in this direction, I'm just barely touching it. So we're actually getting a little bit increasing in this crack here as we're planing, as we're lowering the surface, but we still have these marks from the rough sawn right here and right here. I really would like to get rid of those. Now, in the olden times, I think you can, if you look at some of the old furniture, like from, the 1700s and all that, you'll sometimes see a little bit of these blade marks from the bandsaw or whatever they're using to rough saw the lumber. Those artisans or furniture makers would plane it down to whatever point they thought was good. And if there's a little bit of marks, they probably left it. So, and then of course, I'm sure they did it differently depending on the clientele. So if they had like super rich people, that they probably gave more attention to detail to that. So I'm feeling like this is a little higher still than, oh yeah, you could see that. It's kind of higher in the middle. Oh. Better. What I'm doing is I'm using the straight edge of the plane to kind of see, right? You can see there's a rocking. So it's right there where the pivot point is still too high. So we're gonna try, I'm trying to get down into that area to make it even, because that's really kind of what's holding us back, is that point. Is this a place where you need a scraper? You know, I probably should use a scraper. I actually don't know how to use a scraper yet. Ouch! Son of a gun. Actually, I do have scrapers. But like a lot of things, I just haven't used them yet because I really don't know how to use them. These are scrapers by Link Saws. Thomas Finn is the manufacturer. So we can take these out of the packaging. I bought these, gosh, many, many months ago. So there's different size scrapers here. And I think you're just supposed to pull. I guess that's a nice finish. Oh yeah, wow. It seems that it's cleaning up this tear out up here. But I think we're still in a position where the board, yeah, the board is still high right through here, right where the peaks of these figuring is happening. Andrew says, make sure your edge is filed square. Yeah, I mean, these are brand new, so I'm making a big presumption here. Not to say that they are, but I am making a presumption that hopefully it should be relatively square. How does that do for us? Oh, better. Still high, but we're getting there. Oh, almost. Yeah, getting close, getting close. All right, it's not perfectly dark, but it is very close. Like I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's just very little space. And I think that's going to be all right. So let us do a little bit more. And then maybe a little more scraping. And actually, it's interesting to see because the scraper it's kind of like combing the wood fibers. Huh. All right, as you can see here, that's not bad. There are a little bit of striations here. Like, one of the things I don't want to do is necessarily bring sandpaper into the mix. I mean, I'm mostly a power tool woodworker, so my natural inclination is to get out the power tools, but I don't want to do that today. So maybe we'll finish up this edge a little bit here. So let me pull out some of the clamps. I don't have a front vise. I just have these. I have a rail on this side that I'm using these kind of V-groove clamps. These are the ones from, what are they called? These are the ones from Micro Jig. Andrew says, then you take a round, hard tool, usually a burnisher or hard screwdriver, and then a slag. Ah, yes, I've seen those burnishers. I don't have one. You know, I'm still learning about all this, but I appreciate the thoughts. I've been thinking about the burnishers. So you can see it's very rough sawn here. We're just going slowly, taking off the high spots. Whoops. this way a little bit. Yeah, you can see a little bit more tear out there, but you can see we're getting lower here. This is very low. You can kind of feel it like right there. One of the nice things is that our sense of touch is such that you can really feel what may look to the eye to be a small aberration, but you feel it and it's like, oh, that's pretty deep. Almost, almost. Almost. Oh yeah. Maybe one more pass. Look at those. I'm getting long, long pieces now. Good. All right, I think that's good. A little bit. Maybe we can use the burnisher or the card scraper. Let's use a smaller one. Oh wow, it really does. Wow, I never even thought that it would do that. Like, it really does kind of clean up the grain, the tear out. There's a little bit of tear out planing it that way, but man. Huh. Wow. I am very surprised. As you can see here, right? Look at that. I wonder how square that might be. Let's get our double square. Huh. Whoa. I don't know if you can see that, but it's not bad. That's pretty square. That is very, very surprising. I didn't think that was possible. All right, so now we've got this side planed. This side is square to that. So we basically jointed this board more or less, and now we might as well finish facing the other side since we've got it here. As you see, there's still some undulations there from my previous session. Whoa, it's coming off. Maybe we should go this way. Oh, that's a bit too, maybe it's too deep. Whoa. Oh, that's not good. Too deep, too deep. Let's see how this is. One of the problems with this bench I built, oh my. I built this bench back in the late 90s, and I put some casters on it. It's really heavy duty. It's really a heavy bench. I didn't really build it for woodwork. I just built it as a general like garage bench, and there's 4 casters on here, very heavy duty, hardcore casters. And because I was trying to save money back in like 98 when I built it, I only put 2 of them that are locking. And I don't know if they had double locking casters back then, but modern times they have double locking casters. I mean, not only does it lock the wheel from rotating, it also locks the caster from swiveling, which I think is much more superior. But this one only has the old style locks, and it only has 2 on that side of the bench, because this actually was made to sit up against the wall here. And I never thought that I would need to have 4 locks, but Sometimes my wisdom is not very good. All right, let's see. But a little bit of, saw marks here, 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 just through the center, which tells us that these sides are higher, which makes sense because it's probably bowed this way, so these are higher where the other side, the center, is higher. So we probably need to do some more planing on the edges. All right, we're getting there now. Still right here where the knot is, there's still some low spots. I wonder if it's better to go this way. That's pretty. This right here is very low. Man, this is tough to get this out. Like it's really low right there. Oh my goodness. Andrew says, life needs change. Oh, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. I'm definitely getting, more winded. Not winded, but you can feel it. Like it's a bit of a workout, right? I'm just trying to cut down through here. Wow, it's really low. But wow, that is some nice figuring. Like, I think we might just not worry so much about this one little spot. Maybe we'll leave that. But as you can see here, this is a spot where it's really low, but everything else is fairly plain now. And that figuring is just so brilliant looking. Let's just do a little bit of our card scraping. Nice. Now this other edge here that was cut at Hearn Hardwoods, that looks fairly flat. And oh, that's very square too, gosh. And not so square to this side. But I'm going to presume that these two faces are not exactly parallel. So we're not going to worry, but for today's purposes, we're not going to worry too much about that. Right. Andrew says, before you plane, if you push the board down and it rocks, then you can mark the high corners to start. Oh, good point. Thank you. Whew. I am sweating, especially since I've got the heater running. Let me just clean off a little bit here. All right, we've got our board, which I think it's got really nice figuring. This is what we're going to consider the back side. This is what we're going to consider the front side. And now we're going to add a little bit of finish to this to make it a little bit nicer. So we're going to use today some Osmo Polix oil. Osmo is a polymerized, I think it's a hard wax oil. And I kind of like it. It's pretty nice. But I use this very once in a while. I've only used it on one project. I really like tongue oils, whether they're polymerized tongue oils or just straight up tongue oil. I just love the way that the grain develops in the boards. Now, it's something Osmo, I don't think you necessarily have to use gloves, but I think it's good practice to wear gloves while you're working with any kind of finishing. All right. So I'm just going to use this blue shop towel, just clear it up. I really have come to like using blue shop towels to do application of finishes. They're just easy to use and they tend to deliver good results. Uh-oh. My Osmo is looking a little bit... There is a lifespan on a lot of these finishes, so you want to try to use them as much as, or as quickly as you can. This one, I don't, I bought this like about a year ago, I think. And I buy it in small cans if I need to buy it at all so that I don't have to worry about like wasting it. So you get a little bit on here. I'm just putting quite a bit. This is probably too much, but we're just going to rub it on. And a little bit will go a long way. Or it should go a long way. I always like to put a lot. I don't know why. I just love the look, and especially here where we've got a lot of like extra figuring. It's kind of like hard to get. I just want to get it all nice and wet. But I don't think that, if I remember correctly, Osmo is not a tongue oil based. I think it's more of a linseed oil base. Is that right? So this is actually too much Osmo. I put a lot on here. It's kind of like I was going to say Marco Rubio. It's kind of like Rubio monocoat, where you just really need a light pass on it. Like I did put way too much over here. Andrew says, you never know what solvents they mix it. You never do. You never do. Like there's a book out there called Wood Finishing, I think that is the name. It's by, gosh, I have it over there. I wish I could go look at it because otherwise, but I have now that I have finish on my hands, I won't do that. But it's basically the Bible of finishing for woodworkers. And, that was the author's big peeve with a lot of these companies, is that they wouldn't tell him what is in their product. So you never really knew what's in these finishes, and it's just kind of like, it is kind of ridiculous. So I'm putting a lot more because I want to dab it in here where there's a lot of voids. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I love the voids. I love this weird figuring of the grains. I like it when the wood is all kind of messed up. Some people really like clear, everything straight grained. I mean, I appreciate that, don't get me wrong. And I do think that there are certain times when those are very appropriate. But if left to my own devices, I like it when the wood is figured and kind of funky and kind of crazy because, to me, that's the beauty of the wood. It's all beautiful at that point, right? Now I'm going to do the end grain here. So I'm going to put a little bit more on my cloth because I just want to get a lot of that in there. This is probably against how they tell you. I haven't read the directions in like a year, but I'm just going to do it this way. Guys from Osmo are probably watching and be like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you doing that? You're totally ruining it. I probably am. All right, now we've got it all pretty much in there. Let's put this back on. We don't need that anymore. That's pretty much done. So now we're going to find a little bit of cloth. That's what I forgot to get earlier. I have a pack of t-shirt rags. Basically, these are t-shirt panels that have been cut up, and now we're just going to take this and rub the excess off the surface. Now, there's a couple spots here where there's a little bit of tear out, and I want to make sure that gets in there. This is probably not how they tell you to do it. It's against Osmo's policy. We're just going to do it anyway. Osmo can do their own live stream. Right? So what I'm doing here is just wiping it off heavily to remove the excess finish. Oh, there's a lot. Look at this. See, you can see here there's a bit dry spots. So we want to cover that all up, and then how about down here? Anything? No, that's so maybe in there. It's a little bit. No, I guess that's all right. Andrew says if you take boards and put nails in them, you can vet the finished part on. You can vet the finished part on to dry and protect the finish. Oh, I gotcha. I do have some of these. I'm not going to dig them out. They're buried in all these boxes. But I do have those like triangles for painting, as well as some of those the different types of biscuits and stuff like that that people use for this kind of purpose to hold it up. I'm not honestly with it while we're doing this on the live stream, and this does look very nice now. Like, look at that. That's got a lot of promise. Like, wow, that is really pretty. But honestly, this is really just wood that I'll have to find another purpose for. But I just wanted to share with you this on the live stream. But yeah, that's kind of the basics of the finishing. And when I first started hearing that people were making pieces, and now it's not perfect, right? If I look here, right? If you look here, you can kind of see there looks like there's lines from the planing. So it could be a lot. I mean, I probably could do a lot better of a job. I just don't know. I don't really know very well. But people don't, I've always heard that people talk about, oh, you don't have to sand. And, since I'm a power tool guy, the idea of like, what? You don't have to sand, that just doesn't compute. But I can see now, like, wow, you really can finish, get to a final surface for finishing without ever having to bring abrasives into the picture. So I'm pleased by this. I'm pleased and hopeful. Oh, not vet, but set. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so there it is. So I mean, I don't know if you guys are doing hand tool woodworking at all. I'm still very new to it, right? I'm still learning and still trying to figure out how to utilize it. But I think there's some very nice results. Like, look at that. Look at the flaming. if you put some little camber in the edges of your plane, you don't get those marks. Oh, okay, okay. I will work on that when I start to do my sharpening again. I do need to like get into the sharpening of the rest of the tools. I got all the sharpening tools, and I just need to actually do, just what it really comes down to is not that I'm hesitant or reluctant to do it. It's just a matter of, man, sometimes you just never get the time to do anything. Like I've been wanting to work on some projects this past 2 weeks, and I just haven't had the time to really get into it. I started working on this bench. I have a face vise. I have a 10-inch quick release Wood River face vise that I finally cut part of the bench out to fit it last night. And then now it's just been like, well, I got to run out to Virginia tomorrow, so I don't know when I'll get back to it. So this is the problems of like real life. You know, it's like, oh man, how do I actually get the time to really get into the game, you know? So just some thoughts just to share with you here, just something to play with. You know, I've got a lot more wood to play with, so there's more opportunity for more planing. But thank you, Andrew. I appreciate the tips on that, especially the little bit of cambering and all of that. That's very helpful. I'm always interested in learning more. Like, you know, overall, I'm still very new to all of this, but yeah. All right, so there it is, a little bit of walnut that we started from something more along this line. And we just used the number 62 plane. I didn't change with planes, I just used this. You can really get a lot of things done, I think, with just one plane. You don't have to have a whole like phalanx of planes to work with. I do, but then again, I don't know how to use them, so that's not very good. But yeah, this is a nice little job. All right, so I guess that's going to be it for this week here on the Wood Shop Live. I appreciate you hanging out with me on a Friday night instead of going to the club or the bars, you know. But, you know, we try to finish it up so that you have time to go to the club and to the bars. Still on this beautiful Friday night. It's kind of chilly outside, but I think it's a nice night to be out. So thank you very much for tuning in and hanging out with me. Back again next week, Friday night, with a little more Wood Shop Live. So come join me then. Or if you're interested in coffee, I actually run a coffee channel called Ono Coffee here on YouTube. And I do run coffee live streams most weekday mornings at 10 a.m. So if you have the chance, you're interested in that, come join us then. Or if you're actually interested in cigars, we do a live stream on Thursday nights on the Ono Live channel about cigars, 8 p.m. Thursday night. So hope you have a great one, and see you next time. Now, how do we stop?